Meowdy, part two.
Meowdy.
Hey, a bat bunch. That only sounds good in videos. Um,
Hey, Bad Bunch. How ya doing? What's
this is technically episode two of the podcast, unless I decide to, edit these together. Um, why are we still on the same topic? Why, it's because my internet decided to not work. We tried to restart the stream about 20 times, 18 to be specific. Um, so if you were there for the dumpster fire that was the end of episode one, thank you for trying to watch me.
Skynet took us down. It's fine.
Yeah. We gotta be silenced. We're speaking the truth.
Mhm.
Um, but once again, I have the elusive, the furry
Yes.
Lasso Cassidy with me today. Lasso, do you want to tell people again?
Oh, what's this about elusive? Huh? I feel like I'm fairly easy to find these days.
Fushigi.
What does that even mean? Yeah, you can't use these you can't use these words.
Uh, Fushigi
Hold
da.
on.
Fushigi no
Let's see.
Katsu boy.
Fushigi. There's Let's see. That's a character from a series. There's a ball.
It means
The Fushigi
mysterious.
ball.
It means
Ooh.
mysterious, elusive, but it's also a character archetype. Um,
It's also a like magic trick ball, so you know.
yeah, the I had that magic trick ball, specifically my older sister
I'm in.
did, and it almost broke her foot. Shout out to my older sister.
Good job. Good job.
Anyways,
Anyways, talk about myself real
yeah,
fast.
talk about yourself.
All right. Meowdy everyone. I'm Lasso Catsy, Catboy Cowboy. I can be found over on twitch.tv/LassoCatsy or meowdy.live if you want a shorter link. I play games that you don't want to. That's my main shtick right now. I'm also actively developing 2 different chat games. So like, you can play games that are fun while you watch me play games that are I think they're fun, but some people would call them torture. Some people call me other words that I won't say on Yam's channel because it's. We have to be good here. Pure here.
Let's
Pure
be
pure.
real. Lasso is a Batsu streamer. I'm gonna show you proof right now.
People are
You ready?
hold on.
Hold on.
Hold on. Hold up.
Is YouTube not working?
You link to a different
Oh,
I think you have 2 YouTube streams.
I have 2 YouTube streams? What?
I think
Oh,
one you linked to one that was
dead.
not the right one in one
Oh
of your
my gosh.
posts.
I'm...
Don't worry guys, I'm here for you.
Yeah, it didn't start with the right one. That sucks.
Just push people over, I guess.
Yep. Thank you everyone for finding the right one. Thank you for the subscribe. Um, Thank you for letting me know as well. Let me... We can't have nice things.
No, YouTube won't let it. The YouTube AI, it's listening. Keeps trying to put us down. Put us down. There we go.
I don't know. I don't understand. But that's fine.
Anyways, you can play that clip from yesterday.
Yes.
This wonderful thing that happened to me. I had so much fun yesterday, guys.
It was a great stream.
We accomplished so much.
Here we go.
Alright, we're good. I'm no longer denying my Batsus. I'm not a Batsu streamer, yeah. The reason I say I'm not a Batsu streamer is I don't do things and then when I get it wrong, I get a punishment. I just do the like I just do
It gets me every time.
We can't. I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah, so that's where he ended stream yesterday. So if that looks like fun, please go follow Lasso Catsidy. Pinned comment on YouTube will have Lasso Catsidy's Twitch. Let me just grab it really quick because we had to. Yeah. Fancy. Okay, shout out at Lasso Catsidy. There we go. Looks good. Oh no! Okay. Okay. I'm not meaning to show ads. Especially not Twitch ads. Oh my gosh. Really? That's. Oh, Sonic the fast food restaurant. Disappointing. Disappointing. Oh my gosh. Yes, I did mute you. Hello.
Look what you look. We're getting there. It's fine. We're all good.
Okay,
Thank you,
starting
sir.
over.
Was I
Lasso.
muted from the beginning?
What? How long has Lasso been muted? Oh
Have
my
I been
gosh.
muted the entire time? Hmm?
Ah!
Yeah. Are you trying to put me down?
No, I'm trying to
I see.
actually get people to follow you.
No.
Um,
Oh, since the
hello.
jump king click, that's fine. That's
Okay.
fine. That's fine. I don't
Okay.
have to redo anything then.
Can you reiterate your credentials on AI, please?
Yeah, so I have a bachelor's and master's degree and doctorate level like schoolwork in electrical and computer engineering, which is one of the fields that deals with neural networks, which is what AI is based off of. I've also done some level of professional work using AI as a predictor. Those are the quick notes.
I have no idea what that means.
So you can use AI to predict things. You can use it to generate things. You can use it to control things. Those are like the three big uses for it.
I see. Okay. Well, if you want to know how this stuff works, Lasso did a big old this. You want to see the math really quick? Just a recap. This is where we
Look,
were.
we didn't even really go over the math, guys. I just showed you it existed. It's fine.
Yes, smarty pants computer boy indeed. Um, so now that we have thoroughly and very briefly, as brief as possible, gone over how the generative AI models work, we can finally go over the ethics of generative AI with our current models as of summer of 2024. If you're watching this in the future and like a bunch of laws have passed, great.
Fantastic.
We're talking
Right
about
on here.
2024. So
Yeah.
as of now,
There is one law, to my knowledge, that has been passed on AI, which is a Tennessee law that states that singers' voices can't be used by AI without their consent.
that's good.
That's
That
like the one law I know
that's
of.
good. Man, my state's known for like making laws, and yet we got nothing so far.
Yeah, but it has to deal with like your state's biggest companies. So
Yep.
we'll see.
Okay, so the topic we're starting off with is AI content creation ethical using our current models? If not, what would it take to become ethical? What's your take on this, Lasso?
All right. So, in my opinion, modern neural networks are not ethical because we talked about this last time. But when you're training them, you are training them to directly copy works, and they cannot accredit like where they get anything from.
Mm.
That's like a technological limitation of these AIs is they can't actually tell you exactly where they like source their material from. Um, Now, in order to make it ethical, we would then have to pay and give give accreditation and get consent from every artist that is being used in these AIs, which is possibly millions of people, which these things barely make money as it is.
Hmm.
I think a lot of them are losing money actually, so like that's just not feasible to happen. So I don't think under modern things like until we have a tech breakthrough, it's even possible for it to become ethical.
I see. As for me, I have a different take on this, possibly because I just know less. Personally, I feel like with legislation, um, it would. So the first question is, I don't think it's currently ethical just because um, the parties involved are not all consenting. But
Mhm.
if we did have consent and laws in place that required AI, sorry, what is it called? Neural network data
Yep.
sets to um, require commercial commercial use of the the things that they're
Yeah. The
using.
yeah, no, I get it. The neural net trains from a paid commercial use database.
If that was the case, I would actually see no issue with our current models. Um, we would also need impersonation laws regarding deep fakes. We would also need laws to that you have to disclose AI or generative AI was used in the making of whatever you made with it. And if
Yeah.
you had all those, like, that's the perfect recipe, in my opinion,
Hmm.
to allow um, AI content creation to be ethical. If everyone's getting paid, if everyone consents, and if the audience is aware that it is AI at some point, like there's something generated, and I would love if like it even had to say like what was generated. um I wouldn't see a problem with this, actually.
I think currently on Steam, actually, if you use generative AI content, you have to disclose in your game or like in the store page, like, hey, I use generative AI here, here, and here. You have to tell exactly where you used it.
I see.
Um, a lot of times people just use it for like, but at least one company has decided that on their platform you have to disclose stuff.
Mm-hmm. I see. um yeah, because I mean, the only thing at that point that would still worry me is deep fakes, because you think the people making deep fakes care about if they're following the law? No.
No.
No, they don't. I I think deep fakes in general um are not moral and ethical. Especially if it's not of yourself, especially if it's used for nefarious reasons. Um yeah, impersonation is a huge issue with this kind of stuff. Cuz like we covered last time, was you mentioned how AI's, like the generative AI's main goal is to make a complete replica of the
Yeah. It is trained to try to perfectly copy its training set. Um it's not usually able to do that, but like that's what it's attempting to do.
right. Um so moving on, let's see. Oh yeah.
Yeah, talking about impersonation.
So last last episode, just for reference, we were showing the difference between um a authentic digital artist's work. All the authentic ones have green check marks, and then the AI generated quote in the style of insert artist here images that people were able to make using um, generative AI. Those all have the red AI stamps on them. And as you can see, unfortunately, the AI was pretty much able to, I want to say, latch on to these three artists' styles really well. Um, and if you notice, like with Ross Tran and Sam Yang, a lot of the typical pretty anime girl generation gener- generated
Yeah,
content,
finish.
yeah, looks like it's in their style. It's almost like the default anime girl um style that um people tend to post. Both Ross Tran and San Yang have been trying to pursue legal action against this. They have been very outspoken about how this makes them feel. Um, Part of the reason why I believe their art style has been so latched onto is simply because they are one of the top creators on social media. Like both of them have long been
Mhm.
really high followed artists on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and a lot of people really love their styles. A lot of people have used them as inspiration for their own art. So it makes sense that if people are trying to generate images, they're going to be. I don't exactly know how it works, but I would imagine they're feeding the the training data set
Yeah,
more of these two artists' um,
yeah.
artwork.
There's ways to like tune, if we call it that, AIs to like more go after one style or another. You can like make a copy of a current AI and then tune it to a certain style.
Yeah,
I think
because
also you might see a lot of stuff similar to their art because it does well,
yeah,
because it's popular art and that just like cycles in on itself.
right. Because what I saw on the AI Reddit when I was gathering these images,
Oh, I'm so
um,
sorry. It's a bad place.
it is a bad place. My eyeballs are slightly salty feeling. Um, anyways, basically what people were saying was they got these images by saying beautiful girl in the style of Sam Yang. Like that's what they were typing
Hmm.
in because a lot of these AI bros are like, "What was your prompt, bro? What was your
What's your
prompt?
problem?
What was your
Yeah.
prompt?"
I mean, there's a whole set of, I don't know if they're real jobs, I don't know if they exist, but there's a field now called like prompt engineering,
Mhm.
which for lack of better terms is like, people who are just good at Google
Yeah.
5 years ago. It's the same thing. It's You're good at like finding the right keywords that the neural nets want to hear.
Mhm. Yeah. And then the third artist we have here, I briefly touched on this last episode, but because internet was starting to die, I will revisit it. This artist, Greg Rutkowski, he got very much in the news because he was very much outspoken against AI. And as a response, his detractors on the internet actually fed more and more of his artwork to the AI and generated more AI lookalikes to his artwork just to upset him. So now when you Google Greg Rutkowski, you can like even look at this. I would say about half the Google images that come up are AI replications of his artwork rather than his own artwork. And I do believe that was the goal of the mostly Reddit based campaign, to punish this artist for outspeaking against the generative content technology, that unfortunately will kind of follow his career now, I believe, just because of how much people use Google, how many articles have been written about this guy. Um, I think his name is kind of one and the same with generative AI now, and it's not something he asked for. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, there's the targeted attacks. I think you also see this in the voice stuff a lot is I've kind of seen like if a famous creator talks out a bit against AI, people then like deep fake their voice and face to say something either gross or like positive about AI or
or
you know.
inappropriate things are made.
Yeah.
I have, yes. Um, Actually, I prepared for this stream. This has been over a month in the planning. Lasso and I have planned this for a while. Um, and in preparation of this stream, I actually cleared all of my art off the regular social media platforms. Um, just in case. I know I'm like a small channel and everything, but targeted attacks like that, like, do give me a bit of like fear.
Hmm.
Enough fear for me to want to protect myself. And
Hmm.
we will get into how to protect yourself in a bit, but um, when we're on the topic of ethics, how do you feel about style impersonation ethically?
Um, ethically, man. Uh, yeah, because I know our next topic is a bit more how I feel about it. Ethically, like it just kind of messed up,
Yeah,
right? If I saw an artist who was like wrote copying some other style, as like a consumer, I would not want to hire them for commissions because I'm like, well, that just feels skeezy, right? To like copy someone else's style and use it.
right. And
Whilst
I
like inspiration is fine. It's difficult. There's a fine line there for like real people because like we're more complex. But yeah, something designed to like copy something else is just it's ethically wrong. I don't know how to better put it. It's just wrong. It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
bad.
I mean, for me, as a artist myself and who has been in the VTuber sphere, um, you always see these call out posts based on like, oh my gosh, so and so is also a pink cat VTuber. I cannot believe that they copied my design. And like there's always the like, oh my gosh, look, see, this is where they copied me. And I always look at those with a mixed feeling because like I don't think they need to be canceled for that. My guess is they are a young, inexperienced artist who was either commissioned to copy or inspired to copy. It more just shows their lack of experience and lack of maturity as an artist because they don't have their own footing. They don't have their own voice. They're still looking for their own voice. So what they do in the meantime is they copy their inspirations. Um, and tracing is a different thing. I'm not talking about tracing. I'm talking about looking at something and trying to draw it as close as you can to the original. Um,
Yeah, drawing your
Generally,
Naruto fan art and as
right,
close as you can to original Naruto.
right.
It's
But then claiming it as your own original OC do not steal. We
yeah, yeah,
we see that in the art community and we all know it's generally frowned upon. But I'm not someone who thinks these young artists deserve to be canceled over it, What I do think the proper punishment is critique, not canceling. So what I would do if an artist came to me and said, "Hey, what do you think of my green Sonic the Hedgehog?" I would say, "Oh my gosh, like good job trying to come up with a concept. I'm imagining this is one of your first concepts because there's not a lot very unique going on here. How can we make
Mhm.
this more unique? How can we make this more you?" Um so when an AI is doing style impersonation, I feel the same sort of sucky, but it's not even a artist who's starting to learn. It's just a guy or a gal. I guess
Mhm.
AI sisters probably exist too, who just wants a quote unquote original, let's say Ross Tran, but they don't want to pay Ross Tran. That's actually what this information tells me. Is you,
Yeah, and we can't go to the we can't critique the AI and be like, all right, that's cool, but like, how do we make this picture more you AI? Because they it lacks that capability.
right. We're kind of like teetering on the next point. So,
Hmm.
I'm going to quickly go through this slide. This is based on a YouTube video that I am going to link below because we don't have time to watch the whole thing. But this is a very famous Disney illustrator who had an entire um I don't know what to call these, but basically it's like a AI that recreates a specific art style and it's called the artist's name.
Yeah, you could call it like a branch or a fork, something like
Okay.
that. Like like a specially tuned AI.
Yeah,
Because usually
it's
these are they take a copy of, Dolly and then they tune it to be precise with what they want to do, which a lot of the times is just copying someone's style.
right. So this branch of AI was made by fans of Mengert's work, and was like, now you can see any character in her art style. But when it came to how Menger felt about it, she said this. She said, "As far as the characters, I didn't see myself in it. I didn't personally see the AI making decisions that I would make. So I did feel distance from the results. Some of that frustrated me because it feels like it isn't actually mimicking my style, and yet my name is still a part of the tool." Um, and I would definitely agree. An art style, I would say, is a deliberate, and we kind of went over this last time, but an art
Hmm.
style is a deliberate and indeliberate. It's like a mix of deliberate decisions and subconscious decisions an artist makes, that has been influenced by everything from their inspirations to how they feel that day, to how they feel emotionally about what they are making. And you can see that a lot in Mangert's original works. If you look at, how she tries to spotlight her characters, the composition is always very fun, happy, and bubbly because Mangert is making these portraits that are going to be in Disney illustrated books, books that children will be staring at over and over. She's trying to make a bright, colorful, and um, youthful art style. And then when you look at like the AI impersonators over here, I don't see that translating. I see the bright colors, but I don't see the childlike wonder in the AI recreations at all. And I can see how if my like artwork was impersonated like this, how I would feel very uncomfortable by the results.
Yeah, I'm I'm a little bit scared of the future because I feel like at least the easiest thing to notice is just the composition of these works are entirely different
Right.
from the original artist to the AI trying to copy. And I'm curious if AI will ever learn in big quotes, right? Like be able to get enough training data to understand composition
I would say it's
in the same
getting
way.
better. Um, what AI isn't good at, and I can tell you this as a designer, and I don't think it will ever
Hmm.
understand this, is the deliberate choices a designer makes when it comes to the why. Like why, like the AI learns that people like to light up faces. That's something that it has already grasped, but it doesn't understand why we are lighting up the face and
Hmm.
from what angle we are lighting up the face and what that angle means. Like,
Yeah, and at least technologically wise, it can't ever tell you why.
mhm.
Like it won't ever actually be able to tell you why it does these things. It's not that it doesn't know, it's that like you can't actually know it. It's a technological limitation of these, which is
Yeah, because again, artwork to me is an emotional expression in order to communicate emotions to another, um, like other people. It is
hmm
storytelling. So, like we were talking about, you got Lasso designed by a female creator because you
hmm
wanted a female perspective on your character. I
hmm
specifically made a lot of um, very deliberate choices with Yam, from the color palette to how she dresses, to communicate what I want my audience to understand about me as a person. I chose yellow because yellow is a very bright and optimistic color, and part of the point of my channel is to give creators optimism. And I dressed elegant and kind of teacher like because this is an educational channel. Things like that, that the AI will see, okay, a lot of happy color, like a lot of characters have this kind of color palette, but it won't tell you like the emotion it's supposed to.
it depending on the tags, it might be able to like tag happy to yellow.
Mhm.
Um, but it doesn't understand why. It just knows a lot of artworks that have the happy tag have yellow in it.
I see.
Um, it might be able to do stuff like that.
Mhm.
But once again, it can't tell you why it did it. It just makes that connotation. And then it'll just throw probably yellow randomly for a while in these things versus on certain places.
Yeah. And you can tell, like, with this AI, it's like trying to frame the characters with something behind them, but the choices are very different than Mangert's original
Hmm.
work. You can see that, like, Mangert almost always has, like, something natural lighting behind her characters, and then she highlights the part of the face that's being lit up. You can see that with the Ariel and the Belle version. And instead of putting a lot of natural lighting and giving information about the background, the AI has kind of just decided to put something behind them. Like, in
Yeah,
two instances, it's mountains, which I guess can.
maybe there's a lot of mountains in other arts.
Yeah, who knows? I can understand her feeling of being uncomfortable, and I think ethically, this is, um, at best, like, a bad idea for fans to do, and at worst, deliberate attack on an artist.
Yeah, like intent still matters a bit, but at the end of the day, you're trying to copy someone's work without paying them as well
Right.
and properly like letting them express. So even if it was able to perfectly copy an artist, um, right, they're not getting credit. They're not able to make those like other decisions. Um, it's a bad representation of the work no matter what.
Yeah. um, which we'll go back to like not paying artists in a second, but I just wanted to talk about some more deceptive AI content that I came across just surfing the web. Um,
Oh no. Oh no,
this is
no.
this is big issues. This is big ethical issues we are facing. So when I mean deceptive AI content, I'm not talking about just anything that was generated. It is deceptive, meaning it is not disclosing that it is AI and it's actively trying to fool its audience for either popularity or monetary gain that someone drew this. So the first thing we have, I will say that this creator does, like in the description, say it's AI generated, but because it is mainly on TikTok and Instagram and infinite scrolling platforms where people are not inclined to read descriptions, I would consider this part of the deceptive AI category. Let's go on over and watch. So, again, no harassment to the creator. So they've taken footage of a actual flipbook, and through CG, they have superimposed a AI generated animation that is based on someone's real dance and real face into a flipbook. The comments are generally, "Oh my gosh, you're so talented. Wow,
Hmm.
this looks like super good." And then there's like at the bottom like two AI like this is AI um claims. It fooled me at first as well. Um
Yeah,
there's
I remember you showing me a different
the
dance. I think on
Pokemon
Power
dance.
List
I'll show you the
competition.
one
Yeah.
that fooled me. It made me so sad that it was cuz I'm learning how to animate just behind the scenes. By the way, if um let me find the come on. Where is it?
They're gonna be able to generate so many. that's
Yeah,
that's the
so
scary part about
you
AI.
see, you see, it doesn't matter if like the first 10 you post today didn't get like a lot of views. This one got 3 million, and it is mostly by Japanese and Japanese audience. Like this blew up with the Japanese audience specifically. I'm going to mute it because I don't want to get copyright claimed.
Yep,
Um
Nintendo, please, or whoever.
yeah, but generally like the "this is AI" comments are gonna get flooded out of like with the "you're so talented" comments. And
Hmm.
because it has like a physical framing around it, it totally like disarmed my AI looking brain. Like
Oh
I
yeah, it's very deceptive.
right. So I hate this kind of stuff. There's tutorials on how to make these. I'm not saying go follow them. I'm saying the reason why stuff like this is the one that fooled me, by the
Hmm.
way. Because they took actual animation in the back. That is actual, like, someone actually animated that by hand. And what they did was they just added the AI dancer in front. And that's why I got fooled. I'm very sad I got fooled. Um, but generally, deceptive AI content is all over. And this is one
Hmm.
of um, the more predatory ones, in my opinion.
I want to address a question from YouTube
Mm-hmm.
real fast of how about artists who works belong to the public domain? So at least currently, um, do not know of any AI trained purely on public domain images. In order to even get to the point where an AI can copy someone's style, they have to use like millions of artworks. And of course, most of these come from like, modern Instagram, Twitter, etc. So I don't know if it's possible with what's in the public domain by itself to train one of these networks.
Yeah.
And even then, it would have issues because it's still not able to credit properly, like what it used.
Yeah. Um, and why else would you create this with the framing that you're using except for to to deceive
Yeah,
people?
it's I mean
The
that's the next point right here, right? Like we're about to get into it.
Yeah. But before we get into it, I want to cover one more type of deceptive AI content, which is
Mhm.
submitting AI art into art contests. This is a huge issue. There's been many AI art finalists in art contests and even AI winners in art contests. This They are competing against people who have used or who have honed their artistic abilities for years, and they are pushing them out of the competition. Um,
By being able to Google a few words, right?
yeah.
It's oof.
So this is a very recent and relevant, still ongoing issue. The 2024 Pokemon TCG Illustrator contest, I have submitted for this um, contest myself twice. I have done an Eevee card and a Cramorant card. I've never gotten picked, but well, I don't have it in my portfolio anymore because I took my art down, but maybe if you follow me on Kara, maybe you will get to see the Eevee and the Cramorant cards I designed for this contest. But last week, Pokemon announced its top 300 entries for this year's Illustrator contest. Fan artists on social media and PokeBeach quickly pointed out anomalies in few of the entries, indicating the use of generative AI. These anomalies are not obvious to untrained eyes. I will show them here. Um, Generally, like, it's like, oh, it's glowy. It's like
Hmm.
well rendered, but then like if you zoom in, this ear is
Kind
melting
of
into
messy.
the background. The reflections of the water don't make any sense. This Vaporeon's in a completely different art style. I will have this article linked below so you can see this bigger scale yourself. The Pikachu reflection isn't correct. Um,
I love that for that Pikachu reflection.
Yeah,
It's
it's
great.
kind of silly. So generally things start to feel wrong. And so part of this contest was you were only allowed either 2 or 3 entries, but all of these entries start with V and K. So we are guessing that this person just sat generating images and using different artist names so that they could surpass the limit of the
Hmm.
amount of entries, which is what Lasso has mentioned about like brute forcing the algorithm with just the amount of content that people
Yeah.
generate when they're doing AI content. The Vaporeon, here I'll show you the Vaporeon that does not have the right art style.
The
Um,
fact AI can like generate an image in seconds that would take an artist hours, days, weeks to do is what allows you to just like brute force these through.
Yeah, this Vaporeon here has a completely different art style. You can tell because the face is completely round. It doesn't have the same cheek that Eevee does. It's also in a more Newgrounds shading style. I don't know how well you can see, but it's more of a plasticky shading style. It has none of the same kinds of um, very bright reflections that Eevee has. It's very different than the Eevee here in general, whether
Hmm.
it's the illustrative style or the shading. I'll show these bigger. The love discs are just swimming down, which makes like no sense because
Look, yeah, they're just sleeping. Okay, don't worry about it. They're going to the great farm in the sky.
the crowd is very inconsistent in this
Hmm.
one. The lights are not following like a consistent perspective. Like, granted, fisheye lens perspective is very difficult even for artists, but I don't feel like a regular artist would make this big of a horizon line error. even if they're attempting fisheye lens. I can say that as someone who has done a top-down fisheye lens illustration for a magazine. Never, never try it unless you're ready for pain. Um, so yeah, these are the. This isn't. This has like Espion ears. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, it doesn't look like an Eevee. The lighting's all over the place.
Yeah. So generally, these 6 entries were very sus. But these 6 entries also made it into the finalists.
Hmm.
Meaning this person probably generated even more. And these are just the ones that made it into the finalists. I get it that you can't look very carefully when you're having to choose 300. But let's just go over some of the art that didn't make it in because of the like let's look at the runner-ups that didn't get chosen because the AI got chosen instead. We have this needle felted photographed
Oh, that's good.
Trapinch and Flygon. Very crafty, very cute. Um
Yeah, it reminds me of the old. I think I have some old Pokemon cards that are like clay. I think it's
yes.
pictures of clay
Yeah,
guys.
polymer clay. I have a Slowpoke and a Corsola from the Generation 2 Pokemon cards in that style.
Hmm.
Um, this is by Carrie Bird. Another one. This is fantastic. The illumination really shows like Toxtricity's
Yo, but
um
who's that in the
vibe.
background? Because
Oh, that is
they
the
single?
that's a Pikachu.
No, I know.
She's
It's
Rocker Pikachu. I love her. Um
it's so good.
it is so good. The illumination, the very nice textured colored pencil. I cannot colored pencil like this. But Lucas Durham is the artist for that one. Here's an Eevee one that we could have had instead. This is very Ken Sugimori esque. I'm just like, how were you not picked? Look at the lighting through Eevee's ear like it is a cat ear. Like the amount of thought put into this is quite amazing. They have a reference to the Mew Lost card in this that you
Hmm.
could only get through watching Pokemon the first movie. I did trade that card away. I was a very stupid kid.
I might still have like 10 of them. Yeah, if you need them.
I might need one. Um, because
Um, yeah, I wonder if some of these weren't picked though, because let's just imagine a few people did AI. Each of
mhm,
them could have submitted thousands of pieces of art
mhm,
in quotes, right? Thousands of images. Does that make it harder for like the even see the real people? Like,
right.
your eyes are just tired after scrolling through
Yeah, and
thousands of images.
realistically, if you are judging thousands of images, I do not expect you to be able to tell which one is AI art after entry number 897 of the day, right? They only recently opened this contest internationally, which is why I've only had 2 entries in my entire life. Otherwise, I would have like been entering every year because I mean, Pokemon card art, right? Um
It's great.
so that's Stefan and Johto. This is one of my favorites just because for Alligator and Totodile.
Oh my
I
god, it's
would
Brotodile.
say, um, like I would do a thicker line art just because the Totodile and the Feraligatr kind of meld together in a small scale. But that's like my
Hmm.
only note. This is fantastic art. The rendering is so clean, and the concept is adorable. The reflection is really well done as well. Like we were robbed, guys. Um,
Rob.
not save image. Ah.
Yes. Save that in. No, it's just
Oh, I could
yeah.
have just been clicking the whole time.
It's fine.
Bidoofs with a B barrel. Look at this adorable rendering style. And then we have this stylistic Pikachu that I absolutely love the chubby cheeks of. I love the color choice as well.
Bring back
It's
Fat Pikachu.
it's just such a shame that six total AI entries were chosen. Six, guys.
The ones that were decided from. I'm sure. I'm curious if you dug like deeper, if you could find other ones in there.
I have not dug myself. I more like relied on other people's tellings of this. I haven't gone to Poke
Hmm.
Beach myself and like sifted through all the runner-ups. But oh boy, like art contests are kind of going to be ruined by this, honestly. And it's really sad because I know Game Freak as a company. They're just going to be like, "Okay, no more art contests." They're instead of like finding a solution, their
Yeah.
response is just gonna be like, okay, we're done. Y'all can't follow the rules. Remember like the Van Gogh um
Oh God,
Pikachu
yeah.
cards and how like
Hmm.
kids were getting trampled, so Game Freak just said no more instead of like thinking of ways to make it better. And they're
Hmm.
like, sorry, scalpers. Yeah. So unfortunately, this is just ruining it for the artists and no one else. Here's another. This is just really quick because we've gone over the other one. This was a official MiHoYo winner of the art contest. MiHoYo does a lot of like fan art contests. If you're not familiar, they do it for art, music, and illustration. And like the official ones go in the like MiHoYo fan fair or something. I'm so sorry, Genshin fans. I'm trying to catch up. Um, but like you can just generally tell that something is wrong in this image.
Hmm.
Um, I do believe it's edited AI. I don't believe like this was AI. I think a lot of it was edited to look better than the original generation and they just forgot some places and obviously the composition was AI generated.
Hmm.
But it's in a lot of art contests. That is my point. So, unfortunately, we now have to deal with this. If as if art contests weren't hotly debated enough,
Oh
we
God.
now get to deal with deceptive AI content in our art contests.
It's gonna
Um,
be real fun when a VTuber has a fan art contest, and this is also it.
right? Or like the outfit reveal, like guessing game. You're gonna get a bunch of
Mm.
AI art. It's unfortunate because you know who this ruins it for? It's not the companies. The companies still get their everything they wanted from the art contest.
Yeah, the press, the
Yeah,
the
the
marketing.
it's just unfortunate. Um, so that's another way deceptive AI art content worms its way into our culture. Um, we also have AI influencers, um, which are basically people who aren't real who still get brand endorsements
Hmm.
and are shilling a product, but again, they can't try it. They can't try the product because they have no body to try the product with. They can't tell you how the makeup feels because they cannot try the makeup on. But
Yeah, and I think this is just going to show that like AI is trying to get anywhere. It's trying to replace any, or people are trying to use it to replace any human they can. Um.
I think who's going to suffer the most from AI influencers is actually the young generation growing up with social media.
Hmm.
Because I was never one to compare myself to like humans because I was way too into cartoons. But
Hmm.
like, you're gonna have many children with body image issues comparing themselves
Hmm.
to actual fake people.
Yeah, like my generation already had issues with basically every high schooler we saw on TV was 30 years old. So
Oh,
like when we
right.
hit high school and we were still like dweeby looking, we're like, Wait, this isn't like I was supposed to be hot by
I don't
now.
have a six pack like
What?
so and so on Glee. Wait, was Glee your high school?
No. It'd
No.
be like Buffy.
Buffy,
And
yeah.
I
Okay.
guess Buffy was before him, but stuff like that. Where and yeah, I worry for people growing up when like, oh, I don't look like this perfect, like
Degrassi.
imperfect quotes, right? Like person.
Hmm.
um
What is the one recently with all the drugs and the sleeping with teachers? What is
what?
it called?
What?
What is it
What
called?
do you watch? Yeah, I don't
I'm
watch
not watching
TV.
it. I'm not watching it.
Uh-huh.
It's got Zendaya in it. Not Riverdale. That was when I was a child. What is it called? Oh gosh, I guess it doesn't.
This is gonna be stuck forever. Hold on. There is
Um,
I don't know.
Zendaya. She's like the main character. Euphoria. Thank you. Euphoria.
There
Euphoria.
we go.
Thank you, everyone.
We got there.
Yes. Thank you. You
Like they
saved.
described was like, I have no clue.
Yeah. Is it Shake It Up? I wish, man. Zendaya should go back to Shake It Up. I'm kidding. We don't we don't need her to go back, but I much prefer that kind of media for children. And I'm not gonna like get into my entire lecture about if you're a child you shouldn't be on this app. Um but like
Just go outside, please.
because young people are going to be on Instagram and they are going to look for trends.
Mm-hmm.
Having those trends um, showed in the least authentic way possible calls for criticism, for sure. Because this is the opposite of authenticity. This is artificial authenticity. Um, in a way that they're trying to show as like relatable and adorkable. Um, but it's actually just a room of executives in marketing
Mm-hmm.
being like, how can we make our uh fake beauty influencer as profitable as possible,
Yep.
as viral as possible. And the good thing about her is she's never gonna age. She's never gonna have kids. She's never
Have a
gonna.
sick day.
Yep. You don't have to pay her. It lines the executives' pockets directly, and you just get an
Um,
intern to write the captions.
yeah, and there was some I read a NPR article, the one that's linked here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the words that the CEOs used were worrisome. They were like, yeah, so like, you can tell her to do anything. She'll do anything you want. And you're like, "Oh, I see. That's what they think of these things is like, they have the ability to do anything to them to make them sell their product."
And I feel like we kind of have this in some capacity already with oh my gosh, this is gonna be controversial. Feel free
Uh-oh.
to like yank my
Do we
chain.
want to move on to
Not
stuff, or do you want to stay in
not yet.
controversy? All right, we can stay in
It
controversy.
reminds me it reminds me of brand VTubers. It reminds me of like, oh, we just the purpose of the lasso's going away. It reminds me of brand VTubers in the sense where like a lot of the time when they are meant to represent a brand, their main goal is to just get people to enjoy that brand as much as possible and get feel like the brand is relatable. That's why we have all these like really goofy CEOs on Twitter, whether they have a VTuber
Mhm.
or not. They companies are trying to be very relatable to us. Um,
Yeah, like Crunchyroll Hime's job is to make you watch more Crunchyroll.
yeah.
That That's the end.
Ronald McDonald's. It's trying to get your kids to eat more Happy Meals.
But then sometimes it backfires, yeah.
Yeah, Grimace.
Like Tony the Tiger. Anyways,
Okay, we can move on
this is how you
now.
get Yam to move on,
Because
guys.
we're
It's easy.
almost Lasso's almost at his favorite slide. Because we're talking about AI influencers. Um and I'm just gonna go on a tangent because I know it's gonna be in the comments. If this podcast gets any popularity, they're gonna be like, but what about Hatsune Miku? Hatsune Miku is for the people. Her brand image controlled by Krypton is but a shell of why she's actually enjoyed, and that is because she is by the the rest of her brand is by the people for the people. Because anyone can make something for Hatsune Miku.
Look, I'm just saying, if anyone has issues, just come on over to twitch.tv/LassoCatsy.
Yeah, she's
Come
not
yell
an
at me.
AI, she's an instrument. And anyone can use her likeness
Hmm.
to use their creative bring their creative ideas to life. She's not an AI influencer, even though she does crossovers with cafes and everything officially. um
Hmm.
just that level of like to enjoy Miku is to enjoy how creative people can be with Miku, and none of us are really like worshiping Krypton because we love Miku so much, right? I'm sure most people don't even know what Krypton is. It's a media company that technically owns Miku. One of the media companies that owns Miku. That's a whole can of worms. But speaking of companies, now we're finally getting into it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, not yet. Oh, this one. This one. Companies. Why isn't it like full screen, full screen? I did this last time too. It's like
You want to present?
present
Present review? Yep.
full screen. There we go.
There we go.
Okay. So, of course, we've gone over the kind of content you can make with AI. We've gone over the fact that you can impersonate real artists with AI, and we've also gone over the fact that a lot of it is deceptive and isn't stating that it's AI. And that seems to be the perfect storm for companies to be like, okay, great, we don't have to pay anyone. Because
Yep.
oh
Yep.
boy.
Yeah. AI is currently in a point where, yeah, like companies are just trying to make any sort of like cost cuts they can. Um, and sure, we get to pay the people less. Let's say we can make. Let's use a crazy example. An AI of Dwayne the Rock Johnson. For our movies. Cool. That's like we save $70 million a movie. Right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. um it's it's really concerning. And it's part of the reason why a lot of creators in the US went on strike was because they realized um companies will replace them with AI at the drop of a hat if it means number
Hmm.
go up.
Yep. If it
Um
makes more money, they'll do it.
it's really concerning that they are not worried about being deceptive with their AI content, and they're not worried about um, the impacts of the AI content
Hmm.
they generate. For example, um, there was a documentary, um, and I have to tread very lightly here because the documentary was about a very sensitive subject. It was about someone who um, made another person disappear permanently off the face of this earth. Um, but apparently they didn't have a picture a good picture of the criminal having fun. So what they did, and this is all alleged, but it is very obvious to me. What they did is they generated an image of the criminal in a fun scenario, and then they made it look like an old photo in order to sell the narrative visually that they were giving in the documentary. They did not state anywhere that this was AI generated, but people quickly realized that the teeth, the background, and the hands were not human. They were not human. So it was.
Yeah.
It's already an upsetting subject, but generating generating photos for something that's supposed to be a documentary is probably the worst thing you could do, because you're supposedly giving true events in a
Mm-hmm.
documentary, and by not disclosing that you have made something untrue and displayed it in your documentary, that is actually deception. Like, I really hope that they get in legal trouble for this at some point.
Um. Yeah. I feel like usually in documentaries when they don't have an image, they slap a big like title of like artist interpretation and then throw a picture of what they want.
Yeah, or
That's how all the UFO like stuff does it,
like
right?
a reenactment. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to disclose like this is a reenactment of the events. Um, I'm not
Yeah.
good. I'm not
In
good with.
in you're good.
I'm not good with like generating images of people and putting it in like official money making content to begin with. But this
Mm-hmm.
is probably the worst place to ever do it.
It's pretty bad. At least I know it was part of I'm gonna like skip the politics here, but there was the big Writers Guild and Actors Guild
Mm-hmm.
strikes that happened many
Yes.
months ago. I know part of that was to make sure AI wasn't used without like actors and writers' consent at the very least.
Right.
So there at least is some fight against companies going on right now on stuff like this.
Yeah. Chat says, oh, it's Cactus. Cactus says that would be even unethical as a Photoshop to fake something for a documentary. Yeah, and not disclose it. Like a
Hmm.
recreation of the events, like in the corner. At least. At least.
Hmm.
But I think whoever was in charge of this documentary kind of put the film grain on it and hoped that no one could tell.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it looks like it's from oh my
Like a
gosh,
Polaroid or
a
something.
Polaroid or a disposable camera. Um, I hate it. I hate it. Another instance of AI, like this is probably the most famous example, like internet wise, is Disney generating an image based on their famous Thanksgiving scene. Um, but they made it look more like a photograph than a painting. This is based off a real painting that Disney had an artist do, and they wanted to like modernize it. So they have this generated, albeit I think it's touched up, but generated image of their characters um, eating together.
That's based off a Norman Rockwell
Yes,
thing,
it
right?
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It is a very famous like Thanksgiving.
Piece of Americana.
Yeah, it's just uh,
Nah, that's
no.
gross.
I mean, you could have literally just paid to have the photo taken.
You
It's not that hard. You're
have all the costumes, guys. You can do it.
and you don't even pay your costume um the what are they called? Mascot
Hmm.
employees that much. It wouldn't even be that expensive of a photo. But it just goes to show you that AI, or I mean, Disney is not above AI generation, and this was pretty early in the AI generating game.
Hmm.
Um, and it was really bad publicity for them. I'm not gonna lie, it was really bad. People really called this out. But I think at this point Disney is so big that they are not worried about all the people who do catch it because they know
Hmm.
that they'll still they'll still be fine.
Yeah, people still show up to Disney World. People still watch the movies.
And I used to be like, okay, well, Disney does employ a lot of creative people. So I'm not going to demonize them that much just because I have like people in my life who create for Disney. I have musician friends who have owe it to Disney to get their career started. A lot of animators start and like their goal is to work for a stable company like Disney, Pixar, or Warner Brothers. Um, but this is kind of a big middle finger to all the people they employ, saying, okay, well, once this gets good enough, we're gonna replace you.
Yep, it's it's scary. It's scary what corporations will do.
And speaking,
Um,
oh, go ahead.
no, no, that's it. That's it.
And speaking of like big middle finger to artists, the last one is kind of the worst in my opinion. It's a smaller scale, but it is probably the worst. This animation school, like its redesigned website, only had AI art on it. I saw it when it was still like this, and you scrolled through, and it was atrociously obvious. Like, there was like this really silly looking Harry Potter esque character that was like melting into the background. Um, it's so sad because instead of showcasing their students and their students'
Hmm.
work, which the students would probably be honored by, they decided to generate generate images when
Yeah,
you have a huge library of student work. You have a
you could have
huge
literally just thrown like a pizza at any student use the art of, and they would have been like, "Yeah, no, use it for whatever you need."
that is wild to me. Who thought that was a good idea? I think so many people are like, this is the future, so we gotta show we're the future. Um, and I think everyone who's saying that is so out of touch with the actual creative industry that they are losing sight of the creative people that they have been working over for probably years now. Um, and I think it kind of shows that they think their audiences are dumb. Like, it shows that you don't have faith in your audience when you do something like this.
I feel like it also shows these people who are utilizing AI to like create these images and
Mm-hmm.
models and whatever it is, they they just see like, oh, this thing is flashy. It gets, you know, 10 million likes on TikTok. Right? They're not seeing the thing that we talked about earlier that artists do when they like make choices on composition to make
Yeah.
things seem happy or sad. They're not taking the time, I guess, to see that. Instead, they're just like, does this make number go up? Yep, cool. That's what we're using. Um, while
That's
like audiences, I feel like are smarter and some, we'll look at pictures for hours and
right.
be like, what do I like about this?
Well, if you're considering like, oh man, am I gonna go to this art school? You're gonna spend like a lot of time on the website.
Hmm.
And I think like if I was considering a few animation schools and I saw that they couldn't even be bothered to use their students' work to show like, see, we can get you to this level, I wouldn't go. That ruins it for me.
Mm-hmm. That's wild.
And I think especially if you are currently in animation school and you hear that your own school decided to do that when you already are fearing for your job stability, I I'm
Yeah, it's not great. Especially if like your job as a generally as a school, at least what they promise is like, hey, we're gonna prepare you and get you ready for a job. Also, we're not hiring you either, so good luck.
right. Chat says, as someone who works in a corporate setting, I hear a lot of business leaders jumping on AI because it's the next big thing, and they're not fully considering it if it's actually a good idea or not. I would
Hmm.
agree. I think I have worked. Uh, I'll have to tread lightly here, but I've worked behind the scenes with a lot of agencies, not like if not on their team full time. I've done a lot of contract work for agencies.
Hmm.
And there's been times where I've just been paid to sit and be in meetings, especially pitched. I've helped with pitches for investment meetings. I don't know why. Um, Lasso knows that I am very underqualified for that, but like,
Fine, as long as you get paid. That's
not
all.
paid.
That's all.
Um, I mean, I know about agencies, but I don't know about investors. I don't know how the corporate world works. And every time like I would sit for these pitches, I was so confused on like the buzzwords. At first, I was like really confused on the buzzwords they like to use. Like global connection is one of them, virtual experience is another.
Ooh,
Um
that's a good one.
and they would throw these buzzwords and I'm just like, this is a really weird way to say you're going to have a streamer stream on Twitch and get super chats for you. This is a really weird way to say it. But I think it's part of like the buzzwords right now is like, oh, AI generative content is the future. Don't you
Hmm.
want to be on the cutting edge of the future? Because that's a lot of what those investor meetings were. Like, do you see how many subscribers Gargura gets? We're only on the precipice. She's only the first one of many. Like, that's how they
Yeah.
would word it. Instead of showing their own numbers, they're gonna show Gargura's numbers and say, if you want to get on the ground floor of the next Gargura, you
Hmm.
better fund our virtual experience. And oh, that's another one, Serby. They did use a lot of like AI language, like cutting edge AI tracking technology, and they were talking about VTube Studio, that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I'll also say, from a different corporate stand view, um, I was in corporate doing more corporate stuff
mm-hmm.
before generative AI got big, but AI was still getting big in the predictive
Okay.
sphere, right? So we need to know how many tires to send across the country to different shops. So we use an AI to predict how many will sell, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of the time, the buzzword it was just like, why are we doing AI? I don't know. Boss man wants AI and something, so we're figuring out the best place to put it.
Yeah.
There wasn't thought behind it, and I think the generative AI is an extension. They're just putting it wherever they can because there's hype around it.
Right.
Um,
And it's worrisome because if you think back to NFTs, I'm so sorry to like if you haven't heard that word in a while and I'm like dragging back old memories of like the time
Pictures of
where
monkeys.
we had to deal with NFT profile pictures on Twitter and all that. Um if you think of like NFTs and the whole like get on the ground floor bandwagon rhetoric, and I just feel like there's a lot of overlap with the way AI is marketed to
Yeah,
companies.
the term that's used over here is called tech bros. Um, It's usually men who come like from wealth, and yeah, they just hop from technology to technology, hyping it up, trying to make quick bucks off of it, and then we'll like drop it and move on to the next.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that's what happens to generative AI, right? Like once everyone figures out this thing is actually losing money in the long run.
Oh, capital venture guys. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that makes
Venture
sense.
capitalists and stuff like that. But yeah, we want to. I wonder what the if this will like fall down. We'll still see it around. Like, uh, cryptocurrency still exists. NFTs still exist.
Do they?
Generative AI will. Yeah,
What? Really?
it still exists. It's just
It
a lot
still
less popular.
exists.
So generative AI, even if they do move on, will still exist and still be a threat. Just maybe not to the like expanse we're seeing it
I
nowadays.
see. Um, for me, it's just like I hope it's a fad. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm wondering just how many people will fall for the promise of you can lay off all your artists, your photographers, your brand consultants. You can lay them all
Hmm.
off. You can have ChatGPT run your social media. And that this is the amount of money we can make by laying all these people off. Look at all the money you're saving. And I feel like this is going to go on for years.
Yeah, it'll probably go on for years. We don't know how much damage it'll cause in the meantime if we don't have either laws or labor stuff like that step in, right?
Yeah, and that's the worrisome thing to me is something I learned about like being in a being in a corporate setting for the first time. Again, I'm really sheltered. I'm sorry, guys. In the VTuber agency sphere, what I saw over and over again was the people with the money are the most out of touch. Like the more they are an investor, suddenly the less they understand humans. We could debate that, but another time.
Let's yeah, I feel like you're about to tread into Lasso's territory of making grants. Let's be let's
But
keep it to AI, I
it's
think.
it's like it's a pattern I've seen, so I feel like
Hmm.
um we're gonna see a lot of consequences. Um just based on even though like we all know it's it's wrong and bad. Um and like the most of us are uncomfortable with these instances of AI. Like I think the people who are generating like Naruto hugging Sakura images would still the majority of them would still be off put by the Netflix AI infused documentary, right? Like there's a
Yeah,
spectrum of what people are willing to accept. Personal art,
people who are using it for memes are
yeah.
although like I disagree with like AI being used at all, like they're not trying to, I don't know, take artist jobs.
No, a lot of them are young people who can't draw and want art for personal use or just think it's neat to that they can type in like turtle on a skateboard and something comes up that's a turtle on a skateboard. I can attest when Doll Eve Mini came out, I was enjoying those memes. I was like,
Hmm.
I was laughing at the Toho girl in the background or in the back rooms generative AI stuff. I was. When the president's meme came out, I was like, oh, this is so funny. Um, it's like a spectrum of how far are you willing to go. And I think the majority of us aren't willing to go this far, but the companies are
Hmm.
because number go up.
Number go up. Yeah, if they can lay off people and pay a computer less, they will.
Um, and like these are two YouTube videos that, again, this whole presentation is going to be linked, so you guys can, like, click on all the links you see. These are two instances where real people are getting laid off and replaced with AI. The first one showing that, like, there has been a movement in particular in Japan and Southeast Asia to now have instead of hiring illustrators for your manga, there's a lot of people who are just deciding to go with AI images edited to be a manga, um,
Hmm.
in order to tell their story instead. Because sometimes, if you're familiar with like manga, there are mangaka who both write the story and illustrate, but there's also mangaka who write the story, and then pass it on to an illustrator to illustrate the story, um, which is often quite expensive. Unless you have an illustrator who is more working for like a cut, um, it's going to get expensive fast because you're paying them per panel, and then you're paying a cleanup crew a lot of the time, and then you're paying an editor. Whereas if you just use AI art and like shade it in the manga style, and then just have someone edit the AI art to be less wonky, you're saving money. And we're seeing
Hmm.
more and more mangas do this because, again, like kind of like pilots to a show, manga is kind of like you need to show a proof of concept to a publishing company like Shonen Jump, and they might pick up your manga after chapter 0, and then you have a job. But until then, you're not making money off of your manga, right? That's kind of how it goes. So a lot of people are seeing this as a safer way if they are not illustrating their own manga to get picked up.
Hmm.
And that is, in my opinion, a dangerous, slippery slope. Especially if manga, like, if you follow, I'm passionate about the making of manga, especially the traditional way that manga is made. Partially because I'm like a
Or
really
like
big,
screen printing and
yeah.
all that jazz. Yeah.
I'm a big like monthly girls Nozaki Kun fan, which got me like really into like the traditional process of manga. But then I'm also like a big fan of Keep Your Hands Off the Azelkin, which was like the traditional way animation is done. And I'm just
Hmm.
like, unfortunately, it's true that generating AI is a safer investment for the mangaka to make if they are not an illustrator. And having mangakas who have to compete with this just sucks. It sucks because it might ruin the industry. It might. It might just ruin the industry because no one is able to compete with the amount of people who can get out plots of just like pilot after pilot after pilot of um, different manga, and like
Hmm.
once it's picked up, then I'll hire an artist kind of thing. That's not great. That's not great. Um, do you have any thoughts on that before I go on to the second example?
No, let's keep moving.
The second example is a man who worked at a designing firm, and had a very specific like branding method he used to his um, designing work. And during his employment, he did like, you're gonna have to watch it, but like basically he stopped owning his own work by working for this company. The company owned his work instead of himself. And this company was like, "Oh, the way you do things is really neat. We're gonna train an AI to do it." And then they laid him off because the AI can now replace him in his design work, according to the company.
Yeah,
Um,
at least a superficial, you know, executive sees it for 10 seconds level. Uh, it can do what he did.
and because he doesn't own his work, he is completely powerless against this.
Hmm.
He just got laid off, and his very specific method of his design work is now being done by the AI that was trained off of his work. Um, so basically, AI in both of these instances, oh, illustration expensive, but if we don't use an illustrator, we can get uh things done more efficiently. and not have to pay an illustrator for a manga that might not take off. And then the second one is, oh, designer expensive because he's good. Well, we own his work already, so all we have to do is replace him with an AI and then we save money.
Yeah. I just want to address a quick comment from YouTube. What if design alterations are needed post creation? It's a lot cheaper to hire someone to clean up art than it is, or designs, than it is to draw from scratch.
Yeah.
So even then, the corporation is saving money.
With designers, what you're really paying them for is their ability to creatively answer a problem, essentially. That can be anywhere from we need a logo that portrays that we are professional yet friendly, all the way to I need a main character that is a tsundere, like, but is good for figures and an animation. We are
Hmm.
given a problem we have to address, and we find a solution that fits all of the criteria for that problem. So oftentimes we are kind of tasked with meeting all these demands, and then once the demands are made, it's passed on to an artist to then clean up what your idea was and execute it in the context that it was designed for. So if you can skip the first part, which is often the most thinking power, the most
Hmm.
iterations, if you can have an AI generate 3,000 iterations of a Catboy and you find the one that gives you what you were looking for, then you just didn't have to pay for 3,000 designs.
Hmm.
Uh,
I am curious on this stuff. Like, if I would like to see what he put out, or sorry, this creator put out,
uh huh.
and then what the company was putting out with the AI. I think that'd be an interesting comparison,
Yeah,
because if we talk about on the earlier things that, like, there's still something missing in, like, the images, the artworks, that the AI puts out, right?
right.
They can copy the style, but there's a feeling behind it that's still missing. Um, and I'm sure it's the same, but as long as it's good enough for executives,
As long as
it
it's
gets
good
me
enough
through.
for executives. That is like kind of the. I mean, I'm trying to hold back my leash as much as I can, but that's kind of like the through thread with creativity and corporations. A lot
It's
of
why artists have always been poor, like, throughout history, right? They're always getting the least possible and good enough for whatever's good enough.
yeah. I think that's why, I mean, I've criticized, if you watch my last upload on the channel, I heavily criticized VTuber companies just for how generic their VTuber concepts are compared to indies, and how subpar their models are compared to indies. And part of it is because instead of a single patron commissioning a single artist, um, for a very personalized model, you're getting executives who are like, okay, what anime girls do I want to see in my company? And it's a
Hmm.
completely different design process. Instead of thinking of tailor making something to this like exact person with whom you have contact with, now a company is just saying we need 5 anime girls that have mass appeal.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Reddit, ask r/anime, what's your favorite waifu? Take the top 10, kind of mash them together, and tell an artist to make that.
And I think that's why AI and corporations are going to go so hand in hand, because they're not here for the creative expression. They are here for number go up. And they
Hmm.
are here for this looks good enough for me.
Yeah, this appeals to the mass market. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Um Do we have any more like slides? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think we're on the next one.
Next one.
The kind of culmination of this.
Yes. Which is, can anyone make meaningful, worthwhile content using AI with our current models?
I feel like, we've been more or less hinting at the answer for the last hour and a half.
Yep. Beating around the
Um,
bush, now we're entering the bush.
yeah. My belief is no, because an AI, at the very least, it cannot tell you why it made the decisions it made. It cannot trace inspirations. It cannot tell you like, yeah, it's happy because I used yellow, or I use this here to like show that they're a tsundere, right? This blush here is in a way to make them more tsundere-ish. It can't do that. And that's just on images, right? Same with scripts. It can't tell you why it writes a character a certain way to make them seem stoic.
There's no vision behind AI content.
And it's the way its content comes out, it kind of appears as like it's just copying a bunch of things and mashing together. We talked about how technically that's not what it's doing, but like that's how it always appears, which never feels like art with capital A art, human expression art.
Right. I think a very telltale sign that AI can only make the most generic of things in most instances is just how quick the internet is to dogpile on anything generic and call it AI now.
Yeah. It's a shame for, we talked about the previous artists who their content's used for a lot of AI images. I'm sure that a lot of their like original works get called AI now
Right.
because it's seen as generic.
Yeah. For instance, like Disney's gonna come so hard for my channel after this episode, but Disney's Wish was like, people were like, this is an AI generated movie. It wasn't, by the way, like as far as we know. But because it was like so formulaic, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like what ChatGPT would say if you asked it to write you a Disney movie script, um that's that's kind of like the
Yeah.
perception of AI generated content, and for a good reason. Um,
The old term of like we used to call it written in a boardroom or written by a focus group.
uh-huh.
Now we're just saying it's written by AI, right? Like
Yeah.
it's the next step of there is no creativity or soul. It's just someone thought this had mass appeal.
Yeah. And generally when you're training an AI on images of the internet, I'm guessing most of the time, like probability wise, it's going to favor um what's most popular.
Yeah, if like a million artists are drawing in, anime style,
Hmm.
but 10 artists are drawing in a very specific chibi cartoon oil painting style, it's gonna favor the anime style
Yeah.
just because it has more data from that.
Hmm. Um, which, I mean, last time we reviewed how there is what we call low effort AI content on YouTube, which is when you pretty much rely solely on the AI to come up with the entire video. Um,
Mhm.
you're either relying on other people's work and feeding other people's work through AI, or you're just asking ChatGPT to write you a video. Um, you're
Mhm.
either way, you're writing off the backs of other people's creativity, and you are vomiting out as much in mass volume of this content as you possibly can. Very little human input or creativity required. Um,
Yeah, like a Reddit text to speech, that one's just like running an algorithm through popular Reddit posts and then throwing that through a voiceover AI voice. Um, you could probably like put out as many as there are posts on Reddit a day onto YouTube from those, right? Like hundreds of thousands. Your
Right.
uh your bottleneck may be your upload speed or your like video rendering time.
And I feel like algorithmically, unfortunately, YouTube really encourages this behavior.
Yeah.
Especially
YouTube
in
wants you to
shorts.
throw out as much as you can, right? And
Yeah,
then whatever works, just then hammer on that.
right. Like if your shorts are getting to 300 views, 300 views, 300 views,
Hmm.
and then one of them gets 4 million views, and it was about panda bears in Russia, well, guess what? You're making
Just keep
panda
making those
content tomorrow.
for the
Uh,
next 5 years. Rest in peace, Matt Pat. FNAF.
I'm just,
No.
but it's truly how you game the system is making this kind of thing because you can just do it in droves. And once
Mhm.
you get advanced features on YouTube, you can upload as many times as you want, pretty much, a day.
Now, I'm going to make a quick thing just so people are aware. There are some text to speech engines that are what I would call ethical. And that like all the voice actors and all the data behind it were paid and like consented to being used to train an AI. So some of our like voices that you use, the voices you hear on your favorite streamers when someone donates, those are probably still AI voices, but like made in a way where everyone was paid and consented properly.
Yeah.
Um,
And, I started this stream talking about, like, if if everyone in the entire AI process is well compensated, the AI is limited in the amount it can do with
mhm,
that person's information or data or likeness, and it's a tool used in uh, a greater creative work,
mhm,
then I consider it completely ethical. Like, Lasso uses text to speech in his streams,
mhm.
but he specifically found a TTS that he can ethically get behind rather than, just being like, oh, I want Morgan Freeman to be the voice of the
Yeah,
Cat
I
of
want
Wisdom.
Squidward to be the voice of everyone. It just
Yeah. Um,
those are
so
gross.
low effort AI content we can all agree is just to it's not a creative process. It is
Hmm.
a fame chasing process. And though like some of it can be like for the memes, and I guess the meme is creative because you decided, oh, Squidward should sing the funny song. That's where your
Hmm.
creativity ends. Um However, we also see we're just brushing over for the sake of like the ethics argument. We see people who use AI as one part of their greater creative process. Um, whether
Yeah,
that
and
be
this is where things get trickier
right,
on the like worthwhile content.
whether that be um like voicing a cartoon and the voice actors have passed,
Hmm.
or um making an AI collab partner in your stream to kind of bounce off of, who's kind of silly, and part of the appeal is that she is an AI. Or, um, you know, filming an entire movie skit of sorts that people have actually written, and just using an AI filter of sorts to animate. The thing in common with all of these examples is there's a human element of creativity somewhere, and the AI is kind of less than half of the process, I would say. But it's all kind of a spectrum. The more human element and the more human creativity you have in the content, I would say the higher effort and higher quality it turns out.
Yeah. Now, I'm a bit more extreme on my like
Mm-hmm.
feelings. But like my thoughts are generally anything created with AI is not capital A art.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that like you are foregoing human expression when you are using it. Um, this goes from like Neurosama's personality to the art on the anime Rock Paper Scissors. It's because of the technology behind neural nets. They're little black boxes. We don't know what they're exactly doing. Um, and that's like a technological thing about them.
Mm-hmm.
You are you can tune things to try to get closer to what you want, but like you are always making concessions.
Yeah.
You are always letting it decide what it is at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So,
GT Man and Greg D have a point. AI is a side dish, not the whole meal. Yeah, to be honest, AI should never be the main focus, the side dish versus the actual human content, which is the entree. Yeah, so I do feel like it kind of plays into the point where I was like, once AI becomes the focus or the main part, um,
mhm.
it is no longer creative content. Um, and high effort AI content can be creative and unique. Um, my main issue right now is that if you use AI as a tool, it's still not completely ethical simply because our current models are not ethical. But if we had ethical models out there, I would have no problem with people using AI as part of the creative process, but not the end all be all.
Yeah, and I think the Scooby Doo thing here. So like people should actually like watch both versions of that. Um, I think it's one of the best examples of showing like that it was redone with human voice actors
Mm-hmm.
after the AI voice acting, and it's just better.
Yeah.
And I think that'll always be the case of AI will always make a worse piece of art because it can't make art, in my opinion. But like, um, and I want to answer a real quick question
Mm-hmm.
of someone said, "Do you think you understand what exactly is going on in our own little black box brain?" The difference here is I can tell you as me like why I made decisions in my game design. I can tell you, right? I do game design. I can tell you why I decided things. Why I'm like, all right, how do I make sure everyone feels like an individual still in this game? And AI will just make it and not be able to tell you any of that. And there is no feasible way whatsoever to get that info. So
Yeah.
that's like the difference between brain black box and neural net black box.
Mm-hmm. I have another question I'd like to address. Chat
Hmm.
says if you want to pay Rihanna 500,000 to use her voice for a song, sure, just pay her. Um, I think a lot of people, especially smaller artists, younger artists, will be like, "Oh man, my vision requires Morgan Freeman to narrate this." But
Hmm.
what they have to realize is limitations on your art actually strengthen your art if you continue to think of workarounds to your lack of budget, lack of network, lack of, even in some cases, lack of mobility, lack of, um, you know, there's artists with aphantasia, there's artists with limb
Hmm.
differences, and it's actually um, amazing their creative process that they take in order to still be creating things, and it makes their art unique to them. in a way that someone without those limitations would have never thought of.
Hmm.
Um, for instance, there are quite a few people who cannot sing. I used this example last time, but there's a
Hmm.
few instances of people who cannot sing, so they get into Vocaloid to sing for them, and then they become a very famous Vocaloid producer because they found a workaround that actually improved their final product. So if you're like asking like, "Oh man, you just expect me to pay $500,000 to Rihanna in order to use her voice?" No, I don't. Actually, I think it would be great if you found someone who can sing like Rihanna, but is at the start of their career.
Hmm.
And you know, either ask them their rate or offer them what you can afford and ask to collaborate with them. And it might just spark both your guys' careers. It's a
Yeah,
creative workaround.
and on the like Morgan Freeman one, for example, you need a script read by Morgan Freeman. That's what you think, but you know you can't get him because you don't have $10 million. um, you then have to think to yourself like, okay, why do I need Morgan Freeman? Why do I feel that? And you'll go like, all right, well, it's because I want to have a voice that like has a certain level of authority and has this type of feeling to it, which then make you go back to your script and rewrite parts to like incorporate those ideas,
Yeah,
right? Knowing you can't have something, figuring out why you want it, then will make you reinforce your older works.
right. If you get everything you want immediately in life, you're not going to learn how to creatively improvise and creatively work around. And it'll make you a worse artist for it. I'm not going to lie, actually. If you never have to change your vision to accommodate your situation, your circumstances, you're going to be less creative because you never had to exercise those muscles. If you get everything you want, like by typing out a prompt, you're also
Hmm.
limiting yourself by not teaching yourself a skill. Both Lasso and I have learned a lot of new skills just by VTubing, because
Yeah, just by
VTubing in
doing.
particular requires a lot of skill sets that I did not have. When I started as a VTuber, I had never owned a computer. I had also never used a Windows computer. The
So
amount I had to learn, and I am still
yeah.
learning, in order to do this creative medium that I am not familiar with, has forced me to one, start learning, number two, make friends. I have had to make connections in order to do VTubing because I did not know how the tech worked at all. So I needed to find people who did, which opened more doors for me, not less. Because if I never had to constantly ask Lasso for help, we wouldn't be here. And if Lasso didn't have to ask me to design his VTuber character, maybe we never met. So
Yeah.
I think limitations shouldn't be seen as a, oh, boo-hoo, I'm a starting artist, so I have no connections and I can't hire Rihanna to do my song. That
Yeah.
just means you have the wrong attitude and you have a lot of growing to do.
Um, and yeah, like it's gonna be more work. That is the sad part. Is like, yeah, the limitations just does mean more work. But I think that's the fun part. Is as you do more work, you learn more skills. Um, I've gone from never designing a game to like being on my Oh no, I started designing, but like never designing a computer game to now like I'm on my second computer game I'm designing. We've had tons of failures along the way, and now they're just jokes on my stream. All those failures, like even those failures have turned into something funny. These things that like I found a limitation, I tried to break past it, I failed. Still good.
Right. And I
Yeah.
feel like if you look back on the things that people who had to do with tech limitations, whether that be game devs making things for retro consoles or Newgrounds indie developers like having to figure out, okay, I want this game to exist. Now I have to learn MS Paint. I have to learn
Hmm. Have
like,
to learn Flash.
yeah, learn Flash. Um, like, since the dawn of time, artists have been dealing with limitations, and it's what defines their artwork more than the things they got right away was the workarounds that made their things unique. Oh no, I'm getting into ranty territory.
No, no,
Sorry.
no, we're good. So I think the summary here is that like even using AI in a way that like you still have a human touch to it,
Hmm.
you're still hampering yourself because you're not working past those limitations, those very human limitations,
Yeah.
that force you to grow, force you to get better as a an artist, a content creator of any sort, musician, writer,
Right.
the
And
billion other things that AI can do.
AI, if you're using AI as a part of your process, I would hope it's because you've tried to do it yourself first. At least. Because who knows, you might be cheating yourself out of your next hobby just because you decided to generate all your artwork instead of picking up a pencil and seeing if you enjoy it yourself. If you enjoy the creative process, then no one can take it away from you. Um,
Hmm.
so, like, you're cheating yourself out of it if you decide to immediately reach for the AI um, rather than try it yourself. I totally get it if you're like, okay, this is legitimately like with the Scooby Doo thing. It's this person was legitimately too small to even have the network of people who could do realistic impersonations, as well as he couldn't do a Velma voice himself. He tried, he did the Shaggy and the Scooby himself. So he was like actively trying voice acting himself. Um,
Hmm.
but his like voice acting and networking connections weren't at the point in order to fulfill his vision before he made Springtrapped. And he went back and improved the final product when he did have those things. At that point, I can see the argument for using AI. Because it shows me that he actually
Hmm.
did think a lot about his limitations and um, did try to find a workaround by using his own voice, and he tried voice acting for himself. At that point, it's like, okay, I can see why you used AI here. If
Yeah.
we had an ethical model for him to use, I would have said, okay, I mean, the AI delivery is flat, but, like, good on you for using the tools at your disposal, dude. And I would have no issue with the original Springtrapped episode existing ethically.
Yeah. Like there's always going to be hard times even like getting found by amateur VAs who are just willing to like volunteer for this type of stuff.
Yeah. And, right.
Finding that, getting all the schedules done, right? I don't know if about enough about the background, but like when you're just starting out, I've gone through processes where I've started out, tried to start working with someone, they got too busy, so I tried to start working with someone else, they got too busy. Try to start working with someone else, they got too busy, right? That happens a lot at an amateur
Yes.
level. So
Mm-hmm.
like, who knows? He might have done something like that and just be like, "All right, nope,
I
it,
need to get this
I've
out.
tried."
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know like the full story, but I can tell you when you're in like the very pits of zero viewers and under 100 followers, it can be really discouraging and you can just feel like I just want to get things done.
Hmm.
Um and AI can be a very tempting way to do that, especially like if you're just starting to learn violin, you're like, I just want to use a synth violin, like at the start. But ultimately, what's going to be better for you is to learn violin because then your final products are going to be better at the
Hmm.
when you are at the level. It's just learning learning the instrument can be a struggle. Getting to the point where you have a network to ask people can be a struggle. Like I understand the struggle. I don't want to make you guys feel like I'm not empathetic of new creators who are trying to use these tools to create. I am not like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, it's bad because AI is involved. That is not my stance here. It is, um, it's not helpful to the
Mhm.
creative art sphere. Yeah. And I hope I've like talked about why it is unhelpful in a way that is articulated enough. Because we
Yeah.
do gotta move on.
Yeah, we gotta move on. But yeah, try not to use AI. There's the
Yeah.
don't do it. Do your
Does
best
the
not to.
algorithm feature AI content more often? Why is this? Um,
Um, yeah, we went over this to
yeah,
some extent. It's just AI can put out like thousands and thousands of pieces of content in the time it can take you to make half of one.
right. And
Um,
it can follow trends faster than you can get out your trend version, like the Poke dance, like the
mhm.
Pokemon dance that I was showing earlier. That was a trend, an animation trend. Animation takes time. So why not AI art? AI can get the animation cover out faster. Um,
Yeah, the day it started trending, bam, it
right.
you got it. It's done.
Right. Um, so that is part of the reason. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I know Lasso and I are both like against short form content, um, but
Oh no.
I feel like the slot machine scrolling, infinite scroll model is really going to exacerbate the AI content issue because number one,
Hmm.
I feel myself going numb when I watch shorts. I'm not thinking about the content I'm ingesting. Number two, I'm not selecting the content that is in my eyeballs. So there's a higher
Hmm.
chance of AI art getting a view just by being in a short form content platform versus if it's a thumbnail like on the YouTube homepage in my subscription tab, I'm gonna be like, oh, there's something wrong with that thumbnail. I'm not gonna click on it. But if it's like being projected directly into my brain hole at 3 a.m. Because I only watch shorts at 3 a.m. and
As do we all.
I've been numbed by like 500 other videos before that.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna think twice about it. And if you compare like the I've honestly compared the AI art I've seen in YouTube shorts versus the AI art I've seen like in other places on the internet. The AI art on YouTube shorts does not get as many comments saying, "Hey, this is AI" as others.
Well, I
Um,
mean, people just don't even comment on shorts, right?
right?
I
Most of
feel
them don't get actual engagement.
even for my shorts and TikToks that like did decently well, the average view time was like 4 to 5 seconds. I would probably have a hard time spotting AI generated stuff in 4 to 5 seconds.
Yeah. Um, and I think part of it is because the shorts content audience is also younger and they're not looking at they don't have the media literacy to determine what's going on. Um, so yeah, that's that question. Now we get to the meat and potatoes with 25 minutes left. We got this.
Oh yeah, we got this.
What can creators do to differentiate themselves from the AI competition? Do you want to give your spiel first, or should I?
Um, I can do mine real fast.
Yeah.
Because mine's fast. Mine's simple. My main thing, and this is something I like try to yell at just about any content, anything you do, art, videos, scripts, all that jazz. You need to in your content try to express something. Whether that be like number go up culture is bad, or man, we should all use Kojima for example, war is bad. Right? Walking alone is hard. Right? Like think real deep of what you're trying to express. Um put that into all of your work and then put it out, because an AI can never truly replicate that.
Mm-hmm.
It can't put like what your thoughts on what social media means together truly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think that's the shortest way to just figure out what you're trying to express and put that as much as you can into your art.
Yeah. And then the other thing I want to talk about when it comes to creators differentiating themselves from the AI competition is we've established that the AI will always gravitate towards what's popular, what is it's trying to strive for perfection, no flaws. So I'm not gonna lie, when this whole AI art thing started coming out and we saw companies laying their artists off, I legit um I didn't feel good. I got really burnt out. I think like the peak of it was when I both saw Disney put out that Thanksgiving image, and at the same time, this is silly to admit now because I don't view Vadal as like an AI creator now, but like it
Mm-hmm.
was still fresh. It was when Neurosama got like top woman streamer on Twitch, like on the Twitch leaderboards. I was just like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like top female streamer on a platform that females are already like struggling on is an
Is a
AI
chatbot.
girl. It's a
Yeah.
chatbot. And I remember just actually breaking down. Um and I stopped creating for a bit. I actually did. I stopped making art. Specifically, I stopped making digital art because I was just like, what's the point? I'm just feeding an algorithm. I'm just contributing to the problem. Um Now I have a much better take, which is why I even decided to make this episode. Um, I decided instead of like being like, okay, I'm defeated, I'm going to make physically tangible art. I'm going to make art that is very different from anything I see an AI making. And I'm going to leave my human mistakes in my art. I have just recorded a cover on my viola. And part of the empowerment I am taking for myself through the creative process is to leave my mistakes in. I'm going to balance the cover, but I am not going to pitch correct. I am not going to take out any of the scrubby, squeaky little bits of my bow. Um, just gonna time it and balance it and release it. I am no longer going to try and make myself sound as perfect as possible because part of the appeal of my cover versus like a synthetic cover of it is that I actually played it on my instrument and I want people to be able to hear that I played it on a real instrument. I want you to hear my breaths left in the recording, and I want you guys to know, like, oh, like her bow scratched the string a little bit in that moment, and every time you listen to it you're like, oh, okay, this is a real performance. So everything was done in one take, and everything, all of my little mistakes are left in. And I think that's part of the way I can differentiate myself from an AI cover of the song. Um, I want to imbue more humanity into my work, not less. Another
Mhm.
way that we as creators can differentiate ourselves from AI is to specifically find a unique style and flavor of content that is far away from the meta. If you're having a hard time growing, I do recommend just putting a we call them like hooks. Um, Follow a trend or two every 6 months to get people in the door. But once they're in the door, show them something truly that is you only. Something that's truly unique to you, and something that an AI would never like want to make because it's not what is trending. Um, and I feel like Lasso is a great example of this, actually. Just
Oh,
because his streams are such a unique flavor, um, for good and bad.
but then I
um,
still play Minecraft to get people in.
right. Or you still upload a short every now and then. It's just to get people in the door. It's the free
Hmm.
samples that are more palatable, but then once they're in, once the door's shut, oh, you get to be a
Oh no.
weirdo, man.
Oh
Be
no.
a real weirdo. I'm
I can't
asking.
be that weird here though. I have to be nice. Yim told me.
Yes. You gotta be nice and not talk about your only beans. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um. uh.
Onlybeans.com/lassocats. No, it's not a real place. Don't go there.
And the last thing I want to say, on how to overcome like creative block when it comes to AI and being in the face of AI is you need to learn to enjoy your creative process. Whatever you're doing, you need to learn to enjoy the the mistake making, the limitations, the brainstorming. You need to learn to enjoy that. And if you can't enjoy that, you either need to scale back what you're doing or you need to like consider why you're not enjoying your creative process anymore. Um
Or you can always try something different,
Try
right?
something
Like
different. Yeah. Like
keep trying, but
I think everyone
don't get stuck in one hole.
needs a creative outlet and you need to figure out what that is for you. Um but like if you're enjoying the creative process, you've already won. You've already won because no one can take that away from you. Even if you never publish anything, if you only create in like a diary locked under your bed, you're still winning. You're still a creator because no one can take your enjoyment of making things away from you. Um and if you truly enjoy what you're doing, um it doesn't matter really. I mean, easy for me to say because content creation is not my job. But it doesn't matter if it does good numbers or not. What matters is you made a thing, and you need to praise yourself for making a thing. You need to celebrate those milestones. Oh my gosh,
Hmm.
I had my first stream. Don't focus on no one came and my mic was muted. You made thing. You made
You
something.
look, even that first step to like hit that like start stream is a big step, right? So many people don't even do that if we talk about streaming. Some people don't even make like that first little step. So like every little step, you designed your OC, you drew it on a piece of paper, um, with a pin you found in the dumpster. That's still like progress being made. Celebrate those.
Yeah. Um so yeah, that's really my what was that? Four-step plan? Uh to enjoying and
Hmm.
creating in a AI filled world. I genuinely think it's going to be the unique creators who rise above the rest. It's gonna have to be because you're there's going to be a sea of generic slop. There is going to be. It's going to be way more than
Hmm.
any of us can compete with. So stop competing with the AI and only compete with yourself. Um, then I guess
Yeah.
the last thing with this is collab. Support human artists and collab. Um, like I'm doing
Collab.
now.
Even if it's not collaborating, there's a little hint from Lasso who doesn't do too many collabs on his streams. Shout out all your friends who you think are doing cool stuff when you see them in chat, or when you're just like, man, I'm gonna be over here tomorrow watching my friend do this because I think it's really cool. Um, Constantly do stuff like that if you want to build those connections. If you want to help beat, in quotes, AI, we human artists have to stand together.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to rely on the algorithm. Word of mouth is going to be incredibly valuable. So just talk about the creators you think are doing a good job. It's
Hmm.
free and it's incredibly helpful. Um, which is why, even though Lasso and I make very different content, we always try to get together because both of us believe in what the other is doing. Um, so yes, twitch.tv/Lasso Cassidy.
There we go. Tie it all
Uh,
back to the beginning.
right, right. Okay, very last slide, everyone. We got 15 minutes left. Um, I have here a slide detailing the two tools that I believe artists should be using um, as of 2024 to protect themselves against data scraping of their works. Um,
Mhm.
so here we have this social media site, Kara. It is by artists for artists. Um, it is really cool. I've been using it for the past month. Um, the cool features that it has is it has a built-in job listing and applying system. It can show that you're looking for work. It's kind of similar in a sense to LinkedIn and ArtStation in that way. But then there's some interesting extra features. It's got discussion boards similar to how deviant art was often used for things like critique or just like talking with fellow artists. It's got retweeting or reblogging like Twitter and Tumblr. It's got layout and hashtags like Instagram. One of my favorite features that it has is it's got this unique concept of QR meets, which is when you can post a QR code that's unique to your Kara on a business card or in your gallery, or you can have your QR code handy on your phone for like meetups at conventions and stuff. And it can show you just how many people scan that QR code and what their Kara is so that it can be a useful networking and traffic analytics tool for artists who are trying to get out there in the physical realm. And then the last feature that Kara definitely is very famous for is that it has built in what's called glaze. Glaze and nightshade is something that is above my brain, so I'm gonna have Lasso kind of take over for what exactly it is
Yeah.
and how to use it.
Um yeah, I'm gonna keep it really simple. So Glaze slash Nightshade, they're two different versions of a very similar program made by the University of Chicago. Some students there. Uh we should like applaud them for their work.
Yes,
Um
please.
Glaze, the base idea behind Glaze is that if an AI tries to train off of your image, um, it won't be able to do that. It'll apply some math to your image that makes the AI just not use it. I think is the idea, or like it won't properly copy your image. Um, this is because neural nets AI at the end of the day are big math balls. They do some like pre-calculations on images and post-calculations on images, and it's messing with that like little math there. Um, this is going to be a what we call a cat and mouse game, and that glaze will have to continuously be updated to be able to combat updated AIs. And the same goes for Nightshade. Now, Nightshade's a cooler thing. It's a little bit, it's like glaze on steroids. I don't know how to better put it. It not only distorts your image in a way that protects it, but it also distorts in a way that it tries to poison the AI. So I don't know if you've heard the stories about AIs like training on themselves now and like becoming worse because of that. It's the Nightshade helps with that like process. It gives it little bits of art that like hurts it. Um which are it's really cool. If you want to use these, Kara has glaze on its website. If you want to apply Nightshade or glaze yourself to your images before posting them, you have to go to the link there in
Mm-hmm.
Yam's description, glaze.cs.us
Yes.
Chicago or UC Chicago. Um, there's going to be a bunch of like other links. You have to download it and apply it yourself. I haven't actually used it myself, but there's great guides out there. These people who are making are really trying to help all the artists out there like protect and their work.
Yeah.
So
An important question in chat was, my PC isn't great and I'm wondering what's the minimum spec requirement to run Glaze and Nightshade. I hear it's a program. So there's two ways to use Glaze. One of them is to download it and render the glazed artwork yourself, and
mhm.
the other way is to use it in browser. That is still being limited
Yep.
simply because it's a lot of computing power. So you have to apply in order to use the browser version of Glaze. So what you can do is you can email the team and they can approve you to use the browser version. Um, and then once that is done, you can use their browser version and it won't be any computing power on your PC. It'll be on someone else's PC, if I understand that correctly.
Yes, and if you're wondering about the basic like requirements, you do need like a decent enough GPU. I think the furthest one back I'm seeing here is a GeForce GTX 475.
Mm-hmm.
I see a 9080 in there. So like decently old stuff. You can use fairly old GPUs with it, but you do need a dedicated GPU.
Uh-huh. Um,
Um, they have a whole list on the website you can look at for all the requirements.
And though Kara doesn't have automatic glazing just yet, their vision is to just have glaze automatically on their site. Every time you upload, you can just click a box that says glaze before posting, and it will glaze all your artwork. I can show you my Kara really quick before we end. I have gotten a decent amount of views on my own portfolio, considering that I just
Who's
uploaded
that cat boy?
everything. Yeah, who's that cat boy? What's wrong with his
Gross.
hand?
It looks fine to me.
And
I don't see anything wrong.
of course, this is where it all started. This is the original
Mhm.
Lasso 1.0 design. Anyways, this is my portfolio. Feel free to follow me on Kara. I will try my best to follow back any artists so that we can like generate some networking. Unfortunately, the one downside with Kara, I'm gonna say right now, is regular people are not gonna be on Kara. It's going to be artists and art curators, and that's gonna be the only people who are on here. Simply because most people like social media
Mhm.
on their platforms. They like, you know, seeing a mixture of art and fandom stuff, and like also being able to tweet. And that's not what Kara is for. It is much closer to a portfolio building site than it is social media. Even though there's discussion boards, they're very art centered discussion boards. And thus, you are really only going to be able to network with other artists on Kara. It's probably not going to, like, completely replace social media requirements for artists who are trying to make it as their living. But as a hobbyist, for me, I
Mhm.
am more than happy to just rip all my art off other social media and give clients my Kara instead of my Twitter. So
Yeah.
it totally suits my needs.
No, this
Um,
layout is great for like if I was trying to talk to an artist and I was like, "Hey, do you have a portfolio?" and they sent me this, I'd be like, "Sweet. Now I can
yeah.
say everything." Or they have it linked in their profile.
And the very nice
Um,
thing is posts and portfolio are actually separated, so you can um, put work in progresses and less like your more meme stuff as a post. But then let I'll show you edit post. You can have this checkbox here. It says add to portfolio, and the search categories are also really well done. So I think it's really well done. The team isn't ready to go full time yet, so if you want to support them, um, I highly recommend supporting efforts like this when we can. Simply because it's going gonna be, like Lasso said, a cat and mouse game. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to uh help artists have the tools at their disposal in order to keep making it digitally in a post AI generative content world, I believe this is how we are going to do it. Um, but like as full disclosure, as an artist, I am already picking up more traditional tools for creative expression simply because having tangible art makes me happy. And I do believe physical art is going to just be more valuable um, moving
Yeah.
forward. So
I
it's
think we're gonna see really cool physical art, people working with that medium again.
mhm,
Um, and I'm really hoping we see some like really wild forms of expression,
right.
right? Like,
I mean,
we
when
might
it
see what is it, postmodernism, the
right,
toilet thing again, stuff like that. Banana tape on
Dadaism,
wall, all that weird
um,
stuff.
yes, it's I mean, in music, in art, we see waves that contradict the previous trend. In music, that means dissonance, consonance, dissonance, consonance. Um, we are already seeing a shift towards more interesting chords after sterile pop really took over in the 2000s. Um, and the nice thing is, with the internet, everyone has their own taste that is different than the mainstream, and you can create things and get noticed without having to do the mainstream all the time now. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be doing more physical art. I might not sell it for quite a bit because I need a lot of practice with physical medium, but for artists who are like fearing the AI apocalypse, I think a way to ease your concerns is to pick up a paintbrush again and see, like, I made this and this is the only copy of it in the world, and AI can't have it.
Hmm.
It just helped my burnout so much. It honestly made me feel empowered as an artist to once again be like, this is mine. I made it, and no one else can have it. uh so yeah, that was our little podcast. If you guys like this podcast, please
Hmm.
follow and support Lasso Cassidy so he feels like coming back. Um, we are
Yeah,
going.
you can always drag me here. I'll do it. No matter what, I'll be
I'll
here.
definitely drag you back here whenever I have a tech question. But please, like, comment below what you think my podcast should be called. And uh, follow me on YouTube for the most reliable content updates. Join my Discord if you want to get pinged on when I make stuff, because I make stuff very sporadically now.
Hmm.
We're gonna raid on Twitch and we're gonna end the YouTube stream now. So, YouTube viewers, I have to say, as always, take care, Bat Bunch. Alright, ending
Bye,
on YouTube.
guys.
And